In the great throne hall of Ayodhya, King Dasaratha drew his beloved Rama into a fond embrace and seated the prince at his side. I have grown old, my son, he said. I have tasted every joy a man and a king may know, and repaid my debt to my forefathers. One wish alone remains: to see you crowned upon the throne of our ancestors. The king's voice dropped low. Last night, dark dreams troubled my sleep, and those who read the future warn that some great grief, perhaps even death, may soon overtake me. So let the coronation be held tomorrow, for the stargazers named that day the most auspicious of all. A voice within me whispers that it must be done without delay. You and Sita must ready yourselves this night. Dasaratha continued. Keep a strict fast and lie upon a bed of darbha grass until dawn. Set faithful, watchful friends about you to guard your safety, for the hours before a crowning are fragile ones. Rama listened with a calm, bowed head, receiving each word as a dutiful son receives his father's will. It seems wisest, the king added quietly, to hold the right while your brother Bharat is away in his uncle's land. Do not mistake me. Bharat is righteousness itself, loyal to you in every thought. Yet the hearts of men are changeful things, easily swayed by influences none can foresee. Better the crown be settled before any shadow can fall between us. And so it was settled. The coronation would take place upon the very next day. Dasaratha sent word of his decision to Vasishtha, his family's sage, that every sacred preparation might begin. The uneasy dreams of the night only hardened his resolve to hasten the day, as though his heart already sensed that time itself was slipping from his hands. Taking leave of his father, Rama walked through the palace to his mother Kausalya's apartments. He wished to lay the joyful news before her with his own lips and to seek her blessing upon the morning to come. His step was steady, his heart humble, unhurried by the honor that fate was placing upon his young shoulders. But the queen had already heard the tidings. When Rama entered, he found his mother clad in ceremonial white, seated in worship, her lips moving in prayer for her son. Around her sat gentle Sumitra, faithful Lakshman, and Sita. The whole beloved family gathered together, their faces bright with the hope of the great day drawing near. Rama told his mother of the king's command, and Kausalya answered with a full and loving heart. This I have already heard, my child. May you live long, rule with justice, conquer your enemies, and shelter your people and your kin. You have gladdened your father, and in doing so you have made your mother's joy complete. Her blessings settled over him like sunlight. Then, bowing to his mother and to gentle Sumitra, Rama took his leave and returned to his own dwelling. Behind him the family lingered in quiet gladness, each heart turning toward the dawn. The prince carried their blessings with him, unaware how swiftly the bright current of that evening would be turned aside by unseen hands. As the king had directed, the sage Vasishtha came to Rama's home to begin the sacred fast. Rama welcomed him with reverence at the threshold, washing his feet and leading him within. With ancient mantras, the wise Guru consecrated the prince for the rite of the coming dawn, binding him in vows of purity and prayer for the night ahead. Leaving Rama consecrated, Vasishtha set out again toward the palace. Along the royal road, he passed knots of citizens talking merrily of the morrow's festival. Every house was being dressed with garlands, bright festoons, and fluttering flags until the whole avenue glowed with color. All Ayodhya seemed to be leaning eagerly toward the joy that sunrise would bring. So dense were the happy crowds that the sage could scarcely thread his way through them to the king's palace. When at last he reached Dasaratha, he reported that Rama's fast had begun in due order and that every preparation was well in hand. The king's heart lifted, for the great wish of his life stood almost within his grasp. And yet, beneath his gladness, a small cold fear stirred in the old king's breast. Some nameless dread whispered that a mishap might still steal between him and the single wish he cherished above all others. He could not name the danger, nor set it aside. It lingered like a faint shadow at the edge of his shining hope. Beyond the palace walls, the city surged with joyful commotion. In every home and every lane, men and women and laughing children spoke of the coronation as a blessing upon their own lives. They swept the streets, hung lamps, and counted the hours, each one certain that the morning would begin a golden age beneath their beloved Rama. Within their own dwelling, Rama and Sita kept the sacred night as the rite required. Long they meditated upon Narayana, the eternal Lord. They fed the holy fire with offerings of ghee and reverently sipped what remained. Then, laying aside all comfort, the prince and princess lay down together upon a simple bed of grass spread across the floor. At the first light of dawn, sweet music roused Rama and Sita from their bed of grass. They rose and made themselves ready, hearts serene, waiting only for the auspicious summons that would call them to the palace and the crown. The morning air was full of temple bells and bird song, and all the world seemed poised upon the edge of joy. But the call that fate was preparing carried no crown within it. Far from the bright expectation of the dawn, a very different summons was taking shape in the shadowed women's quarters of the palace. There, unseen by the joyful city, a single bitter heart was about to turn the whole current of the story towards sorrow. By the custom of royal houses, Queen Kaikeyi kept a personal companion and confidential servant, a hunchbacked old woman named Manthara. Being a distant kinswoman of the queen, she claimed a close and privileged intimacy, coming and going freely in Kaikeyi's chambers. For years, she had whispered at her mistress's side, trusted as few servants ever are. Of all the figures in this ancient tale, none is more widely known than Manthara. Across the land, every man, woman, and child remembers her name with loathing, for she became the root of Rama's exile, of Dasaratha's death, and of every grief that afterward fell upon the royal house. On this fateful morning, her mischief was about to begin. On the very day the king resolved to crown Rama, Manthara chanced to climb to the terrace above the women's apartments. From that high perch, she looked down upon the city and saw the streets freshly sprinkled with water and gaily adorned. Bright flags streamed from every rooftop, and all Ayodhya wore the face of a festival she did not understand. Below her, the people moved in glad crowds, dressed in new clothes and gleaming jewels, their skin fragrant with sandal paste, their hair bright with flowers. From the temples rolled the sound of joyful music. Manthara's sharp eyes narrowed. Some great celebration was surely afoot. But what it meant and why, she could not yet guess. Manthara turned to a servant passing nearby. "Why do you wear that fine silk?" she demanded. "What is happening in the city?" "They tell me Kausalya is giving gifts to the Brahmins, and she is a thrifty woman who does nothing without reason. There are festive sights and sounds on every side. Tell me, what is the meaning of it all?" The little maid, dancing with delight, replied, "Can it be you have not heard? Our own Ramchandra is to be anointed Yuvraj tomorrow morning." The words tumbled out in innocent happiness, for to the child, it was the gladdest news in the world. She never dreamed what fire her simple answer had just kindled in the old woman's twisted heart. The news struck Manthara like a blow. A sudden fury swept over her, twisting her face with malice. Hobbling swiftly down the terrace stairs, she made straight for Kaikeyi's chamber, where the queen lay resting upon her bed in untroubled peace. Into that quiet room, the old woman burst, her heart already brimming with the poison she meant to pour. "Rise, rise, you foolish woman!" Manthara cried, shaking the queen awake. "A flood of ruin is rising to swallow you whole. You are betrayed. You are undone. Your very star is sinking from the sky. Is this an hour to lie sleeping like a child?" Her shrill words shattered the calm of the chamber and startled Kaikeyi from her rest. Kaikeyi, supposing that some misfortune had befallen the old woman herself, looked on her with tender concern. "What has upset you so, Manthara?" she asked gently. "Why are you trembling and wild? Tell me what grieves you." Her voice was soft and kind, for as yet no poison had touched her heart, and she felt only pity for her agitated servant. Then the cunning Manthara began her work. "Ruin has come upon us both. My girl, Dasaratha has resolved to make Rama the Yuvraj, the true master of this land. What sorrow could be greater? Your grief is my grief, and so I came running to you." Slowly, sweetly, she laid the first thread of her web across the unsuspecting queen. "You were born to royalty and Wednesday into royalty," Manthara pressed on. "Yet now, poor simple woman, all of it is slipping away. Your husband has deceived you with honeyed words. Do you not see the plot? He sent Bharat far off to his uncle's house, and while your son is absent, he hurries to crown Rama. By dawn, it will be finished." But Kaikeyi's ears took in the words without truly grasping their drift. Like everyone else in the royal household, her mind was flooded with happy expectation of Rama's crowning, for she loved and honored Rama no less than any mother could. Manthara's dark meaning slid past her, unable to find any foothold in so warm and untroubled a heart. "Why, Manthara, you have brought me happy news," the queen exclaimed. "Is my Rama to be crowned tomorrow? What greater joy could come to me? Here, take this and ask me for whatever else you wish." And lifting the necklace from her own throat, Kaikeyi pressed it into the old woman's hands as a glad reward. It was an old royal custom to reward at once whoever carried important good news. Kaikeyi imagined that Manthara, like any devoted servant, was merely fretting out of an anxious, jealous love for her mistress. How could such a woman fathom Rama's goodness or the weighty affairs of state? A little kindness, the queen thought, would soon quiet her foolish fears. Kaikeyi's heart was still wholly pure, schooled by the culture of her noble line and closed against every low and grasping thought. But her very innocence only fed Manthara's bitterness. The old woman's spite swelled the more she saw her mistress rejoice, until she could no longer bear the sight of that trusting, unclouded happiness. With a hiss, Manthara flung the necklace away. "Woe to you, foolish woman! All is lost, and still you laugh. Are you blind to the ruin rushing toward you? Your rival Kausalya, Rama's mother, has schemed to set her son upon the throne, and you leap for joy at it. Am I to weep or to laugh at such madness? Think what becomes of Bharat once Rama reigns." Manthara went on. A king fears any rival to his power. Rama will see your son as a threat forever at his back, and men kill what they fear. Do we not crush a cobra before it strikes? From that day, there will be no safety for Bharat's life, none at all. Tomorrow, Kausalya will rise a queen triumphant, and you will bow before her like a well dressed slave, hands clasped in meek obedience. Your own son will live out his days, a mere subject and servant. In these very apartments, there will be no more honor, no more joy, only humiliation heaped upon you both. And there she stopped, choked with pretended grief. Kaikeyi heard it all and wondered at the old woman's fears. Why should Manthara dread such things? She thought. Does she not know Rama? Is he not righteousness itself? Dharma given living human shape? Even now, the queen's noble heart resisted, unable to believe that the gentle prince she loved could ever bring harm to her or to her son. Have you not always delighted in Rama's truth and humility? Kaikeyi asked. He is the elder. The kingdom is rightly his. Bharat will rule after him, perhaps 100 years. Why grieve? You know how dearly Rama loves me. More, I think, than his own mother, and how he cherishes his brothers as his own life. Fear no harm from him. Alas, how little you understand. Manthara sighed. Once Rama is king, what remains for Bharat? Know you not the law of succession? The eldest son follows the eldest, Rama, then Rama's son, then his son's son, on and on. No younger brother, however good or brave, will ever touch the throne again. Your Bharat's line is shut out forever. Rama will never let Bharat live in peace. Manthara warned, if you love your son, send him far away and keep him hidden, for to return would be to walk to his death. And Kausalya is no friend of yours. She nurses a grudge against the king's favorite, and now she will take her revenge. A rival wife's wrath is a raging fire. At last, the poison found its mark. Fear crept into the queen's heart, and Manthara had won. Kaikeyi's face flushed hot. Her breath came short and quick, and the calm that had guarded her all her life dissolved away. Trembling, she clung to the twisted old woman as if to her only refuge, and the noble heart began to turn. Long ago, when his first two queens had borne him no children, Dasaratha had wed Kaikeyi in hope of an heir. Her father had drawn from the king a promise that any son of hers would one day rule. In a childless king, such a pledge seemed neither strange nor wrong, and for many quiet years it lay forgotten by all. Neither Kaikeyi nor Bharat had ever craved the fulfillment of that ancient vow. Through all the years between, not one word of it had passed their lips. So Dasaratha foresaw no trouble in crowning Rama, as custom and the people alike desired. No cloud had darkened Kaikeyi's mind, and Bharat was far too noble ever to press such a claim. Yet, as the king himself had said, even the purest mind can change. When fate conspires with wicked counsel, any heart among us may be led astray. And so it was with Kaikeyi. The gods had been promised Ravana's fall, and the sages' austerities demanded it. Destiny itself, the poets say, now bent her spotless heart beneath Manthara's evil words. Think, my queen, why such haste? Manthara whispered, why crown Rama while your son is far away, if not to cheat Bharat of his right? The king's fond words are mere pretense. So Kaikeyi, clever yet unworldly, obstinate and easily deceived, brooded on the counsel, unable to foresee where it must lead. Thus began the long charter of grief.